So I have a lot of you that are asking, how can I tell when something is lead paint just by looking at it? So a lot of the time, honestly, you can't. But I'm going to take you into my basement real quick. So if you look here, you see a lot of this chipping, flaking paint. I have not tested this with a swab. I'm going to say chances are it's very highly likely leaded. This basement, we have a dirt floor. And we have, so it's a dirt flooring down here. And there is definitely some lead paint down here. We do not let the kids come down here. We have special shoes just for coming down here. And I hardly ever come down here myself. Too many spiders. Not a fan of the spiders. Okay, so if you look over here, here we go. You see the texture of this. This is what they call the alligator skin texture. Ooh, so many spiders. Ugh, I love them, but I don't like their webs. Anyway, so this alligator skin pattern, when it chips like this is how you can usually tell that it's leaded paint. You can also see how thick the how thick it is. Sorry, I heard noises in the furnace, I think. You can see how thick the paint is. That's because the lead paint is very durable. It was kind of insulating back when they used it. So it'll be really thick and it'll have this really chippy look to it, which is unfortunately very popular. So because we've got like this really, like this dirt floor down here, it's so sandy. We have special shoes that we only use for going in the basement. The kids are never, absolutely never allowed down here. We don't allow it. Too much of a hazard down here. And the shoes that we use that go in the basement, those ones don't ever come in the house. So if you compare it to this here, it's peeling and flaking and probably some leaded, but you can see, looking at the flakes, they're not quite as thick. This looks like it's been painted over, honestly. Again, I have not tested this with a swab, so I don't know. But I would guess that it's probably leaded. Let me show you outside, out back. This is where I've actually been surprised. Again, we've got special shoes just for the backyard. We don't let the kids bring their shoes from the backyard into the house because there is a lead paint hazard in the backyard. So one of the doors down in the basement leads right here, this door that's down in the backyard. So we keep the lawnmower just inside of there. So here's some more chipping paint. Okay, chipping paint here. This door is not leaded according to the swab. This board here is not leaded according to the swab. The weathering on the outside is what gave it this appearance, but if you look at it, how thin it is in comparison to that big, chunky, flaky paint that we saw in the basement, this is a completely different type of paint. Now, where I was surprised, a couple of spots, I'm going to take you into this fenced off portion. We got it so dogs don't come in here. And a bug just flew in my mouth. Okay, so this one here, again, I've tested with this with a swab. And I've tested it all the way down to the bare wood. And there's no lead that was detectable by the swab on this one right here. This, however, tested positive almost instantly. So if you look at this, this is still just as thin as the other paint. And where I got the positive was actually on the surface of this paint. So this is leaded. Right here, this is a very thin coat of lead paint. Another place that I was actually very surprised, we come up over here, the baseboard, well, the base brick. This paint I was sure was going to be leaded because of the way that it's chipping. You look at it right here. I was certain that would be positive, but it was not. At least not with a swab. So the swab only detects down to a certain part per million. Sorry, it's been a long morning. Here's another place that was not positive. Along here. This was not positive with a lead swab. So the swabs only check down to about 600 parts per million. And so that does not mean that there is no lead. This was another positive right here along here. This paint right here, that was positive with a swab. So the best thing to do is to have a lead inspector come out and check to make sure. And if you're not certain Make sure that your kids wash their hands before they eat every single time, which is just good hygiene anyway. Again, there's that leaded. That's lead. That's no lead, according to the swab. The negative doesn't mean that it's completely negative, but the positive definitely means that it's positive. That's lead, and that's not lead. So sometimes you just can't tell by looking at it. You really need to get the lead check swabs. This was not leaded at all when I swabbed it. You cannot rely on the appearance of the paint. This down here, I swabbed this, and this was not positive on my lead check swab. Look at how easily it peels. It's chippy, yes, and it looks like it's got the alligator skin pattern, but this is just latex paint that's peeling off. So if you're uncertain, swab it. It's the best way to tell. Practice good cleanliness. Keep outside shoes for outside only, house shoes for inside the house that don't go outside. And when we have the kids play in the backyard, so we have this fenced in area here that the dogs aren't allowed into so they don't tear up the grass. And so because we do have, this is leaded over here on the side of this little vestibule that's on the basement. Since it's leaded, I generally tell my kids to just stay away from this area right here, which they do. They're pretty good about it. We have the swing set down at the other end. But if they come out here and play, we change clothes. There's their swing set over there, so far away from it. We change clothes, we wash hands, we wash feet. Sometimes most of the time I'll just toss them into the bath. So practice good hygiene habits and make sure that your kids are really clean if they have been playing someplace that you think is a lead hazard. So then once again, positive with a swab all along the top there. That was negative with a swab. Negative with a swab. You really can't tell just by looking at it. I hope this helps some of you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments. You can also go check out leadsafemama.com. She's got a lot of great information on dealing with lead in the household. And she also has a great Facebook group called the Lead Group. So you search for those. Negative with a swab, all of this. Positive with a swab.